Tonight's guest, Johnny Nunez, is someone who I've known for years. He is a photographer from for really our community. He tells our story in a way in which no one has in our generation. You know certain people because of Johnny Nunez. Matter of fact, Johnny just joined. Let's get him in. Let's see how we did. My main man, Johnny.
Hey, Steve.
What's going on, Black?
I'm just chilling, brother. How are you?
Having the time of my life, my man. I am really, really honored to have you on No Dumb Questions.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored.
You know, I want people to, I want people to know more about you. I'll tell people how I met you.
Yes.
And then I want you to start to tell the story of really who you are. I was at the Essence Festival, I don't even know how many years ago, and this guy comes yelling, "Hey, that's me, come here, let's go. Okay, y'all around him, wait, come on, no, wait. And I'm thinking, why is this guy yelling? And everyone said, "You don't know who that is?" I said, I don't. They said, "That's Johnny Nunez. Johnny Nunez just took your picture." And that means something in the hip hop community.
Thank
How
you.
did you get involved in telling the story of the hip hop community?
Well, first of all, foremost, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. You know, Steve, big fan of your works, big fan of your accomplishments. And, you know, I pretty much would like to say, you know, how I got started was I asked God, it's a long story, but I asked God if he gave me one idea, if he gave me just one idea, I told him that I would be the best. And if he just gave me that one idea, if he gave me that one chance at that one idea, that I would work hard at doing it. And the next morning when I woke up, I saw a camera in the air, and I grasped for the camera. My hand went through it. You don't have to believe me, but that's what happened.
I know you're not lying. I know it's Johnny, so I don't know you. I know you're not lying.
Thank you. So what eventually happened was, you know, I was probably at the one of the most darkest points in my life in terms of my living conditions and everything that was happening. It was almost like a whirlwind of bad news after bad news. So a good friend of mine, I remember when I used to run track in high school, he had a Pentax camera. So I called Jose. I said, "Hey, Jose, do you think I can borrow your camera?" And he did. And I started to practice with his camera. And eventually, unfortunately, learning New York City lesson, the car that I was driving got broken into, the whole passenger glass window, and they stole the camera. And I actually had to buy him one. I saw him at a high school reunion, and he wasn't happy. So I had to buy him a camera. But anyway,
I used to have a Pentax
how I got into hip hop,
keep it moving.
how I got into the hip hop angle was that I've learned that, you know, in photography, Steve, you kind of shoot what you love. You know, you shoot the things that you know, you shoot the things that are interesting to you. I've always loved music. I've always loved dance. I've always been, I would say, a creative. And so I fell in love with hip hop the first time I heard Rapper's Delight. I knew that this is something that it illuminated my whole body. It made me feel like there's something greater. So mixing what I knew I loved, which was hip hop photography, and the craft of photography, mixing music with photography put me in a lane that I knew I'd have to work hard at. And there's a lot of great photographers in the genre of hip hop music and so on and so forth. But hip hop has consumed everything. It devoured rock and roll, it devoured country, it devoured pop, it devoured commercial, it devoured everything. You can't do anything without hip hop.
But that's now, though, Johnny. When you started, that was not the case.
Yeah.
When did you start documenting hip hop?
Like 1996, around 1996, 1997. And then from there on. and it was sneaking in the nightclubs, finding ways to get in the club. It was developing friendships with artists. I actually, prior in the midst before getting into photography, I was getting into radio, and I would find all these young artists that were doing showcases at a famous promoter named Maria Davis, the same Maria Davis that Jay-Z has on his first album, introducing Jay-Z on stage.
I just love when you hold on, because you just say names that people don't know what you're talking about. So hold on, because I'm not letting you do that.
Yeah.
Because there's so much insight and inside baseball that you have, that you tell a story and you put people's names in, and people are like, wait a minute, did he just say, wait, well, no. So who's Maria Davis? Who is she, and why is she relevant to what we're talking about?
So Maria Davis is one of the showcase promoters that would give chances to new talent that no one ever heard of. So Jay-Z, Jay-Z appreciated her allowing him to perform on stage for the very first time. If I'm not mistaken, his very first showcase, or his very first time on stage performing, was at Maria Davis. And just like you mentioned earlier, which I really appreciate, if she put you on her bill as one of the performances that would be at her showcase, that means you were somebody. So I was frequenting her venue and all of her events, as many as I could. God bless the dead. My boy Big L, I met him there. And I told him,
again, not everybody is steeped in hip hop history. Yeah. So Big L, Big L is not a small person. Who's Big L?
Yeah. Big L was a rapper from Harlem, only a few blocks away from where I lived, right next to the Apollo, right next to Sylvia's. And he was not only a legend, he was one of the first artists that actually battled Jay-Z. It wasn't a battle like word for word, but they were going toe to toe on certain songs, and there's a historical freestyle between the two of them, freestyling on a beat that Bobito and Stretch Armstrong, when they had a radio show, I think at NYU, they both got on a microphone. So I did the same thing with Big L, quintessentially, and I got to meet all these great artists that just came to show love to Maria Davis, whether they already performed or they were trying to perform again. And even when they made it big, like Jay, they never forgot where they came from, and they wanted to pay homage to her. And he put her on his first album, but she's telling them, like, yo, y'all need to chill out in the back. Yo, next artist performing, coming on stage is Jay-Z, you know? So her showcase is where I would like to say my career started, aside from assisting great fashion photographers like Tony Bozo and a lot of great.
Why would we know Tony Bozo?
How did I meet him?
No, why would we know Tony Bozo?
So Tony Bozo, in an era where it was only white photographers shooting white models for fashion magazine, they still were not giving chances to people of color, whether they were black or brown. And as a result of that, it was rare, seldom, and hard. So Bozo actually was friends with Andy Warhol, Basquiat. He was part of that hip collective of creatives that were trying to merge white, black, Latin. It didn't matter what race you were. So he was also an amazing photographer, Stephen, that Miles Davis would only wish for him to work on projects. So his collection of images of great jazz musicians like Miles Davis was impeccable. And I had a chance to learn the fashion world photography from him. I also learned that some of these iconic image takers, or some of these iconic great photographers, they all had issues, like all of us in life. But I learned a little bit on the hustle side from him too.
Yeah. You start taking pictures in '96 of little known and unknown rappers. What market was there for that? How do you make a living taking pictures of people who nobody knows and don't seem to care about?
Well, that's a good point. I tend to tell people now, I was the Instagram before Instagram. There was a magazine called The Source. It still exists. There was a magazine called Vibe. It still exists. Now I'm telling my age, but back then they had a page or two that was called Coast to Coast, and there was a page in Vibe called In the Mix. These two hip hop magazines were in competition as to who would have hip hop magazine supremacy. And all the rock magazines, I hate to say it, they were slowly dying out as more and more youth were moving into hip hop from all races. So if you got your picture inside Coast to Coast, or if you got your picture inside In the Mix, that meant you were big. That means that you were the Instagram Drake, Ariana Grande, you were the Beyonce, the Madonna. You were that type of iconic individual, but first you had to make it there. So luckily for me, being a blessed child of God, there was a restaurant called Mecca where they had some awesome fried chicken. It was a soul food restaurant on the Lower East Side, Avenue A, and between First and Houston to be exact. And a brother by the name of Fahim saw me going in there.
Who's Fahim?
And
So people don't know who. Again,
yeah. So Fahim was a general manager. Mind you, all this was happening while I was living in a car. So in my bit of depression,
people don't know your background. They don't know.
Oh yeah, it was a horrible mistake. I made a complaint, and the repercussions of that complaint kicked me out of a medical program at Nassau Community College. And I was treating people with cancer. I was 3 months away from graduating, and it was an ethical question. It was an ethical, moral decision to make a complaint on what I witnessed, and that landed me kicked out of the program. Once that happened, the girl I was dating, the landlord I was renting from, all at once said, I can't be with you. And hey, I gotta rent this apartment to somebody else. And I had to pack up all my stuff and go live in a car. I went back to the jobs that I did to get through college. And those jobs that I did to get through college were pretty much delivering chicken and pizza, being a home health aide. And it gave me a lot of time to think about what my future was going to be. It was one step was going to be in the streets, selling selling street pharmacy stuff, or it was going to be whatever God was going to give me. And so I'm almost losing my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
No. So
as I was going to the gym, working out, Steve, and one of my friends was like, Johnny, what are you going to do with your life, man? And I was like, I want to be a photographer because God told me to be a photographer. So one of the gentlemen that was working out with me said, you know what? If you really want to be a photographer, I know a place that has all the movers and shakers of New York, all the who's that you need to go to this restaurant. It's called Mecca. So I was reading a book, Steve, called Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. And it was not just a great book, but it helped me organize my life by getting a planner and sticking to my goals that I put in that planner. So as I was reading a book, it said, even if you're not what you want to be in life, pretend as if you were. Work and tell others that this is what you want to do. You have to speak into existence what you want to be. You have to create the narrative, So I immediately started to go into Manhattan with this camera. I went to Union Square, where all the people would be on weekends, and I'd start finding girls and guys that I thought had the model look, and I'd say, hey, excuse me, I'm just a young photographer learning. Do you mind if I take some photos of you? As God would have it, everybody I shot was willing to give me advice. Like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. So I would take girls to that restaurant as a thank you for letting me photograph them. And so the brother Fahim, the general manager, one day he said, Johnny, you come in here with all these beautiful girls, man. What do you do? I said, I'm a photographer. And it just so happened that there was an exhibit on the wall, Steve. That exhibit was a little bit frightening because it had images of children looking scared. And I didn't think that was a good exhibit. So Fahim, one day I go there, Steve, and there's no photographs on the wall. And I said, hey, Fahim, what happened to the pictures? He says, you know what? My walls need your photos. How soon can you have an exhibit up, Johnny? I was like, oh, my God. And, I ain't got no money. Steve, I'm living in a car. I have no idea what to say. And the Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins book said, go, do it. I said, I can have it. What's the next holiday coming up? Valentine's Day. We'll make the theme Valentine's Day. Okay, you got like 2 months. So immediately I'm like, God, how am I going to get the money to print the images? How am I going to find the frames to frame it? How am I going to get the models? This is where the hustle comes in, Steve. I went to a processing lab and I look in the wall for fashion photographers. And of course, every single model is white, maybe one black, maybe one tiny black picture of a black woman. All the photographers are white. And out of all these comp cards and business cards to hire a white photographer, there's only one comp card that has black women, black men. And when I saw the name Kwame Bradworth, I said, it's got to be a brother. Maybe I can go pretend that I'm going to be a model. I want him to photograph me. But when I go in his studio, rather than pay to get photographed, I could see the setup of the lighting. That was my original goal, just to see the setup. And then I'll figure it out. I get to meet him, and he's in a processing lab. And he goes, I'll charge you $600 for a photo shoot, 2 looks, may have a girl model to be on your arm. And I'm like, wait a minute, but where's your studio, Kwame? He goes, oh, I don't have a studio. I rent a studio from a photographer named Bill Wiley, another brother. I said, thank you very much. I'll be right back. I took the elevator up, knocked on the door. Hello? I said, how you doing? My name is Johnny Nunez. Kwame Bradworth referred me to you. Are you Bill Wiley? Yes, I am, but I don't normally rent it out to strangers, but I guess you're all right. So it's $20 an hour, and when do you want to rent? I'm like, I want to rent it this Saturday. I immediately called all those models, all those people that I saw in the street that I thought were models, and I said, I want to do a romantic exhibit of like romance and love. And so all the guys and all the girls that got together told them to take off their shirts and just embrace each other. The images sold like hotcakes. People were taking them off the wall. One person that it attracted was an editor at the Source magazine. And another time it attracted someone who was at Vibe magazine. Both of them said separately, come to my office. I want to introduce you to the photo editor. Man, the rest is history. They were like, Johnny, you have any hip hop photos? I'm like, yes.
But
from Drew Hill to Fugees to Jay-Z to Big L to Jazzo to Erykah Badu.
Jazzo came. What's Jay-Z? What's Jazzo's claim?
Jazzo kind of helped. Jazzo gave Jay-Z like a chance and told him, don't go down that wrong path. I'll show you how to do music. And I think Jay-Z first started out as this DJ, but then evolved into like his hype man and evolved into his partner. And then, you know, the rest is history.
Wait, the way Jazzo tells it is that Jazzo was, he was it. He was the guy. He was
Mm-hmm.
the MC. And then people were telling him about this cat who just moved into Marcy. Sean Carter. And the legend is that Jay-Z, became not so much competitors, but really people who work together. And then Dame Dash, but there's that. People don't think I know hip hop history. So anyway, what I think is important about you though is that you saw something that no one else saw. You saw a beauty in the culture that was not seen. I mean, people were not taking pictures of LL and the Fat
Yeah.
Boys and
Yeah.
people who. Why'd you take pictures of these guys who some of them used to be drug dealers and some of whom were still drug? Why were you taking their pictures? Why are you still taking their pictures?
Because I feel like, you know, as a person, as a black African American slash Latino, we have to be the keepers of the fire. You could be other races and do what we do, but at the end of the day, we have to have some responsibility to record our history by ourselves. You know, Steve, as good as I do, person that controls the person that writes the history controls the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Look at Elvis Presley and all these other culture vultures that stole something that came from our ancestors. And I didn't want, I look back now, I realize that I know that when I no longer live and there's no more of me on this earth, my images will live on forever, capturing images of emotions suspended in time. Long after I'm gone, you might see one of my images like the way you would see a Jamal Shabazz, a great photographer of what they would consider street photography. But it's not street photography, it's cultural photography. And, like Annie Leibovitz shoots Vogue covers and great portraits. These are individual great artists that shoot what they love. I just felt like what separates me from the pack is that I love shooting the undesirables, the uninvited, the unknowns. I feel like in life you should give a chance, whether they're the first opening up act or the main the main performer, because what happens when this guy who sings backup, it blows up bigger than the artist? You know, Kendrick Lamar was J-Rock's hype man. I remember going on tour with Kanye West to Europe for the first time, and John Legend was his keyboardist, you know? And long story short,
Well,
I
before we
be
go to long story short, because I want you,
yeah.
because there was this guy who was a producer
Uh-huh.
named Kanye who you were taking pictures of and trying to
Mhm.
get people to buy the photos of this guy, and they were saying what?
Well, a few times people would tell me, Johnny, don't send. I mean, I don't want to throw nobody on the bus, but there were people that knew nothing of our culture. And one platform that I worked with, they said, you keep sending us pictures of these guys. They are not talent. They are not artists. They are music producers. Yeah, they make music, but they're not talent. Please stop sending us these images to post. I
Who
was
were some
like,
of the images who were some of the images that got turned down?
well, my reply was like, I think you're making a bad mistake, because Kanye West and Pharrell will one day be very popular and very famous. And the
Well, you
response from this person was, you just take photos, we'll do what we do. And I was like, okay. That guy got fired, of course, later on for something else. But again, not saying if you're from China, you don't know hip hop, but how can anyone put a cultural price on our music that's not from our culture? How can you tell me who is worthy of shooting and who's not, based on who you are, where you grew up, what's your walk of life, you know? So yeah,
well,
that's
one of the things that I've always when I've seen you at work, which is more interesting than the subjects. If you ever want to see a human bumblebee, just watch Nunez. Johnny
oh,
is
thank you,
like
brother.
he is buzzing around, and he knows every single person. But more importantly, everybody knows you. And what's dope to watch
Thank you.
is I've seen people. We leave some of that.
Mm.
I've seen people who have stiff armed everyone else. They don't take my picture. Don't take my picture. And then Johnny comes around and he yells their name out and say, oh, Johnny, and then they let you take that picture. Why is it that the culture trusts you so much?
Well, thank you, Steve. I get a lot of referrals. Like I remember when Jay-Z introduced me to LeBron James, and I didn't know who LeBron was, and he was like, "Oh, Johnny, he's gonna be big." I'm like, "All right, thanks." And I introduced myself. I wound up being LeBron's photographer for like 4 or 5 years. All of his birthday parties, all of his private events, and now he's LeBron James. But when you when you when you humble and you respect people and you give them love early before everybody jumps on, I ain't gonna lie. Now some of these people have private jets, their own glam squad, their own photographers, their own videographers. You can't shoot. You gotta sign this in order to shoot this person. And I get it. You've reached a great status in life. But for me, I'm just happy that I was there at a pivotal point to push this individual to a higher level, And I go places where they're like, "Hey man, I'm Michael Jordan's photographer. You can't shoot." And I'm like, "Yo." And Spike Lee will be like, "Hey Jordan, hey Johnny, come on," And the photographer's like, "Oh, you can't shoot." And I'm like, "Who are you, bro?"
And let's just be clear.
Yeah.
Those people who don't know, I don't clearly I'm not a celebrity. I'm an educator who sometimes gets to do some of the stuff I get to do, and I've come across.
You're a celebrity, Steve.
No, I'm not. But I've seen you, and you are. And what's really impressive about you in that space, and I want to give people the scene. You just have to think of being in a room with some of the most famous, mostly Black people alive today. Right? Just think of the room, put the people in it, and I mean put them in. Put Steve Harvey, put DL, put Jay-Z, put LeBron. Put these people in a room. Put them in a room. And there are, in those rooms, you're not usually allowed to take pictures. It is generally not okay. You take your phone out, they can ask you to leave. Like these are those spaces where it just doesn't happen. And then comes the Bumblebee Johnny. And every single one of these cats stops what they're doing, turns around, and shines for you. I wonder how much that has to do, Johnny, with how you still treat the opening act like they are literally the feature. Why do you do that?
Oh man, steel sharpens steel, and I feel like to be on my toes. I know this might sound weird, but I know a lot of great photographers that they grow old like me, and they're like, "That's it, no more. I'm just gonna now shoot weddings, and I'm gonna just be a portrait photographer, or just shoot albums." And that's good money. Don't get me wrong. For me, I feel like every time I get to go to a venue and help a new artist develop, then I feel like I'm earning my another feather in my wings. To help propel someone's career, whether it's acting, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's a sculpture or a painter. There's many different ways I could use my lens and my eye to help. So, my aura, or what I like, my modus operandi is one. I'm not perfect, but I want to be a vessel of God. I want to be able to help people and play it forward. Maybe I'll get paid, maybe I won't. Do I need money? Yes. Am I gonna only do something for someone if I get paid? Nah. Because I feel God already gave me an opportunity, and there's people that might be impacted by me taking a photo of them and placing it on a great platform like Get Images, Wire Image, Film Magic. These are the platforms that I partnered with. And when my image goes on those platforms, over 2 billion people see my photos. 2 people seeing my photos, that means as time progresses, more and more people will remember, hey, I saw an article on this guy. Hey, I saw a picture of this guy. You know, the other day, Steve, I found a picture of Travis Scott, Drake, and ASAP Rocky. Three looking very young.
That you took.
Yeah. hmm And they were very young. Like when I say young, no facial hairs. You know, they were like just all together huddled in a little party. And I was like, wow, this picture right here is like, forget it. You know, it's classic. There's so many images
Your volume went down a little bit. I think, Johnny, where your mic moved a little bit, so you may.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, I think honestly, Steve, I'm blessed and highly favored because I give thanks to the Most High. Hold on for 1 second.
Absolutely.
Come on. So
most iconic images that I've seen of yours is of Jay-Z and Warren Buffett. Can you take us through that story?
Yeah, so I made it into an NFT actually, but that was a picture I took at the 4040, and the backstory I heard is that Jay really liked Warren for his financial knowledge and the things he stood for. So he asked if Warren can come to this party because it was very important to him, and Warren Buffett did. And I believe he also gave Jay-Z previously or after that, he gave him some advice, like own everything. Don't partner. Don't just buy into something. Try to buy the actual company entirely. And then that's where you'll make a bigger profit. So I already knew who Warren was. I obviously was hired by Jay to be his photographer. And there were several other photographers in the venue. None of them knew hip hop. And a lot of the times, a lot of them see me and they go, "Oh my goodness, let's just follow him." And then we'll either A, steal his shot, or after he gets the shot, we'll get the same shot. And then we'll ask him, who did we just shoot? Which I still don't understand. Why would you hire someone who doesn't even know what they're doing, but that's to my benefit, actually. So I had to go to the bar and take pictures of random people to get those photographers that were trying to steal my shots so that they can then run and get those shots. When I saw that they were making their way to who I just shot at the bar, I snuck into the crowd and worked my way to Warren Buffett. And I laid low. I said, "Warren, can you do this with your hands?" I was like on bended knee. And he was like, what do you want? Take your hands. And I took his little fingers and I made him do the rock sign. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I took some pictures and his wife helped him put his fingers like the rock sign, like the way Jay-Z throws up. And then I saw Jay's back was a few feet away. I tapped Jay-Z and turned around. Nunez, what are you doing? What's going on? I said, can you just show Warren how to throw up the rock? And right there, pop, 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 I got the shots. Of course, here comes the crowd. These guys start coming and they start trying to take the same shot, but they didn't get it like I did because I set it up. Another one is Cameron with the pink cell phone and the pink fur. I set that whole shot up. That's my shot.
Unfortunately, that people have seen that. They don't know who did it.
Well, what happened was I wasn't shooting digital, so another great photographer, but great at stealing my shot. She was another culture vulture photographer. She was shooting digital. I was shooting film. Unfortunately, my film, the negatives were damaged, but not all of them. So I still have some of them. But because hers went viral digitally, people will see that shot. But if you know, that's my shot. Even Cameron will tell you. But they're not the first. A lot of non-cultural
shots. Take us through some of the other big ones.
Man, Jay-Z and Nas toasting after the anniversary of Biggie's death, maybe a year after. And on Jay-Z's shirt, it says Notorious B.I.G. on his shirt. And that picture sold for $500,000 to an artist. That wasn't me, But it just goes to show you how hip-hop has evolved to where people will spend millions of dollars on our culture and deem that art, you know. But you live and you learn. Now I've entered the art world.
My oldest son, he's a junior. He's a junior now in college. I told both of them to give me some questions because. So here's the thing, Johnny. They've known you since they were little, but you know, they know your work though, which impressed me. To be completely honest with you, and I asked my oldest son before I did this interview. I said, "Hey, would you have a question for Johnny?" And one of the questions he wanted to know was, his name's Mason. He wanted to know, have you ever felt unsafe at a shop?
Like unsafe at a venue or
At anything where you've been shooting.
Like I shot something that was dangerous, you mean, or
you were in a place where things were going wild because you've been in some wild situations.
Yeah, murder, witnessing people get shot and witnessing people get stabbed. Back in the day, there was a place called the Tunnel, and there was a whole bunch of other nightclubs.
The Tunnel was legendary, but not everybody knows.
It was like another one of those venues where if you made it in the Tunnel, that meant you made it big.
Where Big and Tupac did the only song together. Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm. And yeah, maybe yeah. I think you're right. I have to check.
There's a freestyle.
But there's been times where I could see dangers coming, and I'll immediately grab like whatever friends near me and try to like pull them to let's move. Why? I don't know why. It's just something tells me let's move. And once we move, you hear the gunshots, you smell the smoke, you see the people drop. You see blood, you see people scream, run away. There's been a lot of those moments, but I thank God I'm still looking pretty. You know what I'm saying? So
tell me through one of those. What's the one that stands out most?
Oh man, the dangerous one. I mean, it's over now, but like maybe witnessing someone get shot that's a celebrity. He's lucky he survived, but it was a message sent to him from another gangster, and so he got shot, I think, in his butt or in the back of his leg. But like in that story, you see something's not right, and you see a firearm starting to come out from someone's waistband, and you're like the photographer, and you're like, oh my God, it's like a movie. You could see the move in, the arm being raised. It's kind of scary. And what's even more scary is I got to photograph the guy shooting, So those things happen, and I sometimes take pictures in crowds when the violence erupts, and you don't know what you shot until you develop the film or till you download the card and you all of a sudden like, oh my God, that's the person. And this is the person. Oh my God, So it could be scary at times, especially at my age now, going to these nightclubs, it's no one fights no more, Steve. Nobody has the heart to use their hands, Everybody thinks it's a convenience to just pull out a gun and shoot somebody. I ain't gonna lie, you come mess with me, you might get something, but I do everything in my power to talk peace and I try to use empathy, to try to like calm people down. But once you pass that crazy lunacy line, something now it's on. Now you've made that decision. You're going to have to now live the rest of your life either in jail or on the run, and I just thank God. Like I pray every day with my kids and my wife. We pray in the morning, we pray in the night, I stay prayed up, Steve, and God definitely has placed angels around me, when I move in these dangerous places. So hopefully I answered the question.
Folks, I just want you to understand, Johnny's not breaking these artists at the Apollo. That's not what this is happening. When Johnny is breaking some of your favorite artists, they're performing at some places that the rest of us don't typically go to. It's not some Upper West Side event. He's not breaking somebody at the Super Bowl, though if you go to Super Bowl, you see him there. He's not breaking somebody at the Grammys, though if you go to Grammys, you see him there, or the BET Awards. you're gonna see Johnny in these big events, but that's not where he's breaking your favorite artist. He's breaking your favorite artist in places that are very unsafe, typically for most people.
Yeah.
But you get a
Yeah.
pass though.
Yeah.
You get a pass. People see you. I mean, again, we're in spaces where nobody wants a picture of what just happened. And the only fact that they let come in and leave with their camera is you. Why is it that they trust you so much?
You know, I never try to put anything that is unflattering. You know, if I see something crazy, you know, cameras like I never took the picture. Even though I did, I never took the picture. You know, so I'm not cooperating with authorities because I mind my business, but I also know I have a great relationship with the law officers. You know, and they're not actually there to hunt our people. There are good police officers. There's bad officers too, but for the ones that I do know, they'll sometimes I don't even know how they know stories that they'll tell me, yo, Johnny, there's a group coming here. They got firearms. If you're gonna do any photography, you need to stay away from this side of the building. Go stay there. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah. And sure enough, like clockwork, performance is going on. All of a sudden, and you hear what sounds like a loud firecracker, you know, and then the crowd's moving. It's like, oh my God, you know? So even with police there, that doesn't deter violence, nor does it deter ego, you know? I think ego and weapons together is the perfect concoction for destruction, you know?
Someone just asked a question. Are you ever afraid to take pictures?
I'm afraid to take pictures. No, but I have taken some pictures that after I took it, I realized I could have definitely lost my life. You know, I've actually been called on the phone from prison, threatened that if I ever show this picture or if you ever tell anybody about that photo, you're gonna, you know, is this your address? Is this where you live? You know, I've had those phone calls and I've had to tell them, you know, I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't know. That picture never took it. I don't even know who this person you're talking of. I do have it, but I understand. You know, I have a family. I have a beautiful wife and 2 kids.
Yes,
They
you
need
do.
me. So what I got to do is, you know, when I hear you have a call from correctional position, I'm not picking that up. Not gonna play interfere. My road and my journey and what's for me, God already ordained. I just gotta stay positive, like you, Steve. Work on things. And by the way, this year I have become the first African American Latino Grammy Recording Academy of Music photographer. And so now,
Let's pause there for a second because I don't.
yeah,
First
yeah,
ever is the fact that in 2022 that's still possible,
yeah.
but that's what you did.
Yeah, thanks to Felicia Butterfield, Riggs Morales, and Henry, and all the good people at the Recording Academy of Music, it was time to like mix it up a little bit and bring more photographers that can add value to the show and to the I guess you could say the organization, you know.
But people,
But
but what happens is you build the respect. And I've said this many times. I've been somewhere and I didn't know how big of an event it was, and then here comes Johnny, and I think, all right, it everything just got turned up. If Nunez is here, then it's a real event. It is a real event. It is
thank you.
verified. You got a check mark if you're there, and people call you.
Hmm.
They call you to tell their story. Sometimes in the streets. I don't want to say that they call you so that you'll tell their story like a paparazzi, but isn't that true?
Yeah, you know, I mean, last year, or was it this year? Last year, Nas put me on his album that just won his first Grammy, 27 Summers. And, you know, it was a great honor and a great privilege to have a street rap historian put me in one of his verses. You know, aside from Cameron and Vado, shout out to them. They also put me in one of their songs.
And Nas essentially said, you know, it's an event when Johnny takes your picture.
Yeah. Johnny Nunez got all the pictures, and now it's a running joke whenever I'm around Nas or Hit Boy or any of their people. They go, Johnny Nunez got all the pictures. Like Steve Stout. I had the privilege of working with a very, very.
Everybody knows who Steve Stout is. He's super important. Go ahead, Steve Stout.
That's the man. Oh yeah, he's the man. I got hired to a very powerful family, and Fat Five Freddy got me the job actually. So I got to give him mad props.
Fat Five Freddy is one of the most important people at the beginning of hip hop. You may remember him from MTV.
Oh yeah,
Blondie, Andy Warhol. Fat Five Freddy.
Yeah. So he got me a job with this really awesome family, a very, very, very powerful family, and here I am shooting them, and I thought like the husband of the couple wouldn't even care who I am. This guy's a trillionaire, literally a trillionaire, and here comes this guy. He was like, there goes Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. There's Jeff Bezos. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio. All these, Bezos. Excuse me. All these like wealthy, well-to-do people all in this one room, and before you know it, the guy goes, "This is the father of the family." Johnny Nunez got all the pictures, man. Everybody, Johnny Nunez is my photographer. Because Steve explained who I am, and he goes, "Oh, I can't believe it. Steve, you brought Johnny Nunez to my dinner, man. I can't. Oh man, now I'm officially hip hop." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I invoiced very lightly, but after the job was done, there was an extra bonus from them, which I was just like, bing, my eyes almost hit the check. Like, what? Thank you. So shout out to all of them, man, for the recognition. And I appreciate, I guess I feel, if, like I said before earlier, Steve, if you help people, I know that God will reciprocate. Even if the individual doesn't even know or has a clue what you did for them, sometimes it's the unsung heroes that benefit more later because God saw what you did.
Well, what I think people see when they see you, Johnny, is they see a humble cat. They see somebody who is just on the grind. And everybody keeps saying it. Yes, Johnny is a legend. Like, there's no period. Like, people who know hip hop know you. Like, you can't really call yourself a hip hop head, and hip hop not the music, but hip hop the culture, if you don't know Johnny Nunez's work. If I'm introducing you to Johnny Nunez, you're missing out on. You're actually not missing out. I mean, you didn't know who was bringing you these images. This is the guy who's brought you the overwhelming majority of the images that you've come to know. Some of the most iconic images that you've come to know. This guy took them. And he took them, in some cases, with his life in danger. He took them in some seedy place. He took them, one of the things that's always interested in me, I don't understand, Johnny. Sometimes I follow you, obviously, on Instagram, and I'm thinking, how the hell did Johnny know that this dude was coming? Like, I've seen you in your car. I don't know if you you drive and carry your camera. It ain't safe, but I've seen you like shooting out of the car. Am I correct?
Yeah. Any way to get the shot. I find a sense of pride and also what's the word? Pleasure in getting shots that no one else has gotten.
What's one of the ones that sticks out in your head? Like, one of the ones that, if somebody asks what's your favorite picture, that's probably like asking which of your children's favorite. But what are some of the ones that stand out for you?
Wow, there's so many. Oh man.
Somebody said they've known you since Joe's Pub and Aretha's house.
Wow. Yeah, Joe's Pub. Wow. I have so many great ones. I remember when Puffy was at a Jay-Z and Damon Dash party in the Hamptons. They had gotten this humongous house, and it was like everybody was there. Busta Rhymes, you name all the who's from the privileged and wealthy, and the privileged and wealthy from the streets. It was just a beautiful United Nations. Like it was the transitioning of hip hop now pouring into the suburbs and other areas that had wealth. And so as Puppy was leaving, um, he had maybe 2 cases of Cristal or whatever, and he said, "Johnny, take this picture of me." And he popped open 2 bottles, and he poured all the champagne on this beautiful lawn. And as he did that, he said, "I want them to know we here now. They got to understand we here." And when those 2 bottles were done, he had 2 more bottles open, and he started pouring it. And I'm like, that's like, you're wasting $5,000. He emptied, Steve, probably 2 cases of champagne in one spot, and the bottles. Of course, they didn't leave it there, but it was like, wow. So that picture is one. That's one for my exhibit coming up. And by the way, Kedar Massenburg and Alexandria, they're going to be putting together an exhibit for me in Memphis, in Tennessee. So
When is it? When is it?
We're still working on the date, but it's coming up, and it's going to be amazing. I hope you can make it. It's going to feature a lot of images from artists from the years of my work, and also some of the artists from Memphis, like Young Dolph, the late great Young Dolph, who just passed away. And so, shout out to Kedar Massenburg and Alexandria for that.
So we're coming to the end, man. I kept you longer than I was supposed to. A couple things that I don't think people know about you, Johnny. You grew up as a foster kid, yes?
Yeah, foster care. Yeah, I was not only a foster care child. My family that adopted me were Puerto Rican. I'm African American, but they took me in as if I was one of their own, and they didn't have to. They already had 4 children of their own. But I won my mom's heart, and by the time I turned 5, I became a Nunez. Yeah. So now I like to help. Well, I've been, but I love helping feed the homeless. I love helping not only foster care, but I've also spoken at some of the galas to raise money for NYU for New York City foster care, and I was a keynote speaker 3 years back for NYC Gov foster care down in Wall Street. And one of my goals, Steve, actually, shout out to Capital Prep, by the way. One of my goals is to try to incorporate teaching photography to the children that get aged out of foster care. And what a lot of people don't know, aside from foster care, unfortunately, without parents, sometimes, and I don't know percent-wise, but somewhere between 20 to 30% of those that are incarcerated are children who come from either non-existing parents or single-parent homes. There's a problem there. And I think a lot of it has to do with our DNA. That's another story. But I think if we could intercept that youth that's aging out and put a camera in their hands, teach them a craft, biblically, I think Jesus said, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So that being said, that's something that in time would be great to establish with you, Steve. And what would be dope is if we take one of the students, pair him up with a previous foster care child who's now an adult or somewhat, and teach the 2 of them. Now, not only do you learn photography, but you also got a new friend. So you got someone to lean on.
I'll say this, Johnny. I've seen you out there with your fishing pole. I've seen you out there grinding. I I know that we just touched the surface tonight.
Mhm.
If you could see all the comments, I mean, people who know you, love and respect you. Uh,
Thank you.
I want to encourage everybody. If you don't follow him on Instagram, follow him on Instagram. Follow Johnny Nunez on Instagram and all those other platforms, because he is shooting someone, not shooting. He's taking pictures of someone who I promise you're going to care about. I promise you. I promise you. I had, I'm not going to say anybody's
Thank
name
you.
because the person now has a career. There was somebody who I saw, I'm like, why is this dude taking this guy? Like, why do you keep working with this guy? And then there it is, like, oh, that's why. Because Nunez has the inside track. You completely understand what it is. You understand what matters to the culture, and you go to the ends of the earth, and sometimes the most gully places, and some of the top places. I mean, again, you're gonna if you happen to go to make it to the Super Bowl, you're gonna see Johnny there. If you go to NBA All-Star Weekend, you're gonna see Johnny there. If you go to Essence, you're gonna see Johnny there. If you go to any of the award shows, Emmys, Oscars, what have you, you're gonna see them. Gallery
Thank
opens, you're gonna see them. But in between there,
you.
if you happen to be at a local club, bar, what have you, where I don't even know if they're checking people when they come in some of the places. Like, they can't even be patting people down when there's some of the spots that you go to. I
It's
don't even know if
crazy.
they can't be patting people down. But
Mhm.
you're there because you see young talent who's hungry. And you
Mhm.
see young talent do what young talent does. And you make young talent seem, I've seen you treat young talent like they are the top of the food chain. And that's why people dig you. That's why people dig you.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Well, I really appreciate that, man. And I'm
Well,
looking forward to us going out this summer, whether it be in the Essence Fest coming up or the BET Awards or just being in Connecticut kicking it, or in Harlem kicking it. We're going to figure it out.
Autobot, you coming back up to the crib, you and the kids and the wife, tell them all I said, hey, we're going to hang out
Yeah.
again. Folks,
Oh, yeah.
thank you for joining us tonight. Johnny
Thank
Nunez,
you.
literally
Thank
one of the most important people in hip hop culture, a person who has decided to tell our story for us, by us, and about us. He is writing our story every single day. Make sure you check him out
Thank you.
on Instagram. Anywhere else, Johnny? Is it
Thank you.
anywhere else anything else you got coming up that you want folks to check out?
I want to give a shout out to Cat Skins. That's CAPSKINZ. Crazy invention for baseball cap people. I need to talk to you about that, Steve. Shout out to Goat Fuel Energy Drink, which is a black-owned energy drink. The one of the founders is Jerry Rice, NFL Hall of Famer. Want to give a shout out to UPOZ. That's UPOEZ out in Atlanta, which is a new technology developing app that allows you to book your own photographer from your phone. I'll get into that another time. And shout out to Rush Partners. They're still developing, but I'm getting involved in the cannabis world, and we'll be helping the the process in regards to dispensary and consumption lounges and even the farming part. So we're going to have a lot of symposiums to help people expunge their criminal records if it relates to cannabis. And we're going to have all kind of things that will develop into business opportunities for Black and brown people and all races.
Thank you, Johnny Nunez. Love you to pieces, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us on No Dumb Questions, where the smartest person in the room is the one who